Well, thank you very much. I'm honoured and delighted and extremely privileged to be in this place in such a gathering. I've got three things to say. I've more or less said the first one, which is thank you very much. I'm honoured and thank you very much. I am. It's wonderful to be here on a night such as this, in a place such as this. And I filmed here, and that's the second thing I want to talk about briefly, is a programme, because that's what it comes to, and I'm accompanied this evening by Anna Cox, who is the producer of a programme I did on Tyndall, which I think is one of the best things I've done on television. Tyndall is, in my, I hope, unchallenged view around here, the greatest Englishman that has ever lived. Englishman in every sense, especially with stress on the English. He could be said to have revived and projected a version of the English language which still streaks and streams the way we speak and how we think nowadays. It was an extraordinary achievement by this young clerk, by this austere, meagre feeding exile, haunted around the Low Countries, spied on by three groups of people, by our lot down there, by the Holy Roman Emperor, and by the papacy. Chased around and eventually betrayed by a fellow Oxford man and burned to death, presumably, as they thought, dead, but the strangler who was supposed to strangle him first fumbled it, and he was alive when he was actually burnt. And he gave us essentially the King James Bible, all that rot you used to hear in Hollywood. When I had the pleasure to work in Hollywood for a while, and they would always get you. In the end, they would say, when you said, what's your wife's opinion of the book? It's really very interesting, really, but maybe it's better if we talk about how writers think of the screenplay. And your daughter, well, that's very... And you would say, Melvyn, the greatest book on earth was written by a committee. And now we know it wasn't. I wish I'd known that then. 90.7% of the New Testament is Tyndall, and of the first 5 books of the Old Testament, 84% is Tyndall. That was before he died. We're talking Tyndall's words, we're all talking Tyndall. What a man he was, and what a dance I was led by Anna Cox. Deep in the forests of Germany, Simon reminded me of that, except we were there at 4 o'clock in the morning, whenever it was, with icicles and all. Anyway, we had to be there, didn't we? Well, I had to follow Anna Cox. And we came here several times. Will you do that walk again through the doors, Mummy? No, just again. Will you do that walk again? And many of you know, I don't want to spoil an occasion, but just to give it a little inner richness, we went to the torture chamber at the end of the building, known as the Lollards Tower, as part of our programme, where people who read Tyndall were put and tortured, and very few of them came out. So that's one thing I want to say. Thank you very much to producers such as Anna Cox, and to the producers I worked with on the King James Bible and several other programmes. We're very fortunate when people of that sort of talent and commitment are in that area. And it's hard for them to get work through, and when they do, it's congratulations. So I'll be very brief in the second one, which is simply this. I've got to take a deep breath here, because it's difficult. I profoundly agree with David Cameron. There you are. I've been rehearsing that since Sunday morning. When David Cameron said we were a Christian country, he's right. That, in every profound sense, he's right. Going to church is part of it. Saying prayers is part of it. Making acknowledgements is part of it. And people wish there were more of each one of those things. But in the deepest sense, from the time when the Lindisfarne Gospels defined what this country's nature and art was going to be, through Alfred the Great, who used the word English for the first time in the English language and began to bring the English together, right through the centuries, the idea of Christianity has been intermingled with the idea of this country. And there was a brief mention of democracy. The democratic debate in Parliament just across there would not have happened in 1649 had it not been for the Bible. They talked out of the Bible, about the Bible, through the Bible, fought that debate, which resulted in the shaking of Europe by the execution of a king after being tried by a jury. That had never happened in history before, and it happened there through the Bible. And then we went on to the great anti-slavery campaign, drifting through our minds now as something that happened. No, it didn't. It happened by men fanatical about the Bible, particularly Wilberforce in this country, but a great number of other men, and in America. And then we go through the philanthropy of the 19th century, the women's movement, the women who helped the poor in the East, and on it goes. You wonder actually where we would have been without the driving force of the impact of that Bible, almost whether you believed in its sayings, in its promises of eternal life, in its miracles, in its virgin birth, or any of that. It became part of the way we thought, really, at our best, and still is part of the way we think. So I'm very pleased to be part of programs that make that on, and I've gone rather over the length that Roger suggested, but under the length that a previous person who invited me here also suggested. So I've about split the difference. Thank you very much indeed. I'm very proud of this award. Thank you.